This is wonderful. Hello. This is wonderful. Uh, Hello. You guys can hear me now, right?
Yep.
Okay. So there's no issue now, right?
I think we're good. No.
Okay. So we're live actually. All right, guys. I am so sorry. I keep apologizing, but I have to apologize again. So I am so sorry. This will never happen again. All right. So we have three guests with us today. I'll start from my left, which is Toyin Adewumi, and I would allow them actually introduce themselves. So Toyin Adewumi is to my left, and just below Toyin, close to Toyin Adewumi is Edmond Olayinka, and after Edmond Olayinka, that's Mojisola Akpata. All right. So I'll allow them introduce themselves. Toyin.
Yes, looks like you've done that already.
Okay.
I'm not sure what else I need to add. Okay, hi everyone. This is Toyin Adewumi, like Opina rightly said. Toyin is an HR practitioner. She's also a movie producer, and she's a grateful child of God. I guess that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, I'm not sure what else I need to add. Okay, hi everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Toyin. So, Olayinka Edmond.
Yeah, hello everyone. Olayinka Edmond. Wife, mother, daughter of God, friend, sister. I work in communications during the day and run my family every other time, I guess. And like Tony said, grateful child of God, very much so.
Yeah, thank you, Olayinka. And Mojisola Pata.
You said, I call myself Omoba, which is child of God. I am a lawyer, corporate affairs and external affairs practitioner, otherwise.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring my invitation. It's really wonderful. So let's just go straight into it. So it's about the song To You, but not necessarily about the song To You. It's about our experiences in relation to the song itself. But before we go on, I just want to give a brief background about how that song came about, actually. So when I came to the US a few months later, a few months after I came, I worked in this delivery company, right? So sometimes when we have breaks, we just go into our cars, sit down for a while, then, before they ask us to come deliver another goods or something. So there was one day, my friend, he was the producer of the last song, sent me a message and said, when are you going to release the second song? I said, I really don't know. So there's this day I was just sitting and I just, I don't know, it just came to my mind. And I went straight into the car and it took me 30 minutes to write that song. But before it was released, it took like 2 years plus to release that song. There was a lot of hurdles here and there. Last year, COVID-19 struck. So that was another delay. Even when I sent it to the producer, I had to disperse the song to different states so that some of those guys can actually put in their input, and then we have the final product before we go into the studio to sing. So there was a lot of hurdles. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that song went through that, but there was a lot of hurdles. And the night when I received that final master from Ronnie, the producer, something came to my mind. as much as I want to be religious about it, it was just some sort of probably an inspiration or an idea that came. Like I actually put out there on Facebook and other social media platforms, that the idea came that I should, connect with some friends and interview them. That was the first idea. That was the first thought, to interview them. But like I said on the social media platform, that as the days went by, it became more of where we're going to have chats and chit chats, just like we chat normally. Even though this is Zoom, we'll just forget about the fact that this is actually a Zoom call or we're live or something. So we chat the way we chat and laugh and play. Because I remember those days back. I don't want to say where, right? So I remember those days back. So guys, I'm the underdog. I'm not really. So these guys, I actually serve them. Like they call me on the phone and say, Obina, come here, come fix this. And I run to go fix that. Right? Sometimes they won't log or go through the normal, they know what I'm saying. They will not log the ticket or go through the normal process. Sometimes they will call my personal phone, Obina, come here, you small boy. And I'll run upstairs and I'll go fix that issue. So, and that was how this family actually started. There's a lot of history.
People are more guilty of that than others.
So there's a lot how that whole process started, right? It probably will come up in these conversations, but I'll be there. So yeah, so that was how the song came up. So that we're going to chit chat, we'll talk, and by the grace of God, as people listen to our chit chats and our normal conversations, nothing serious, no strategy, is unscripted, right? So just in case, guys, that it's not scripted, they don't really know. 3 of them, I didn't really tell them that this is how it's going to be. I just told them, and yes, they just kidding. And that's why I call them my sisters and very close friends. So it's just going to be a normal conversation. It might relate to their profession if they want to put it out there. I love if they want to do that. Or it might actually move it to their personal lives. I don't know how the conversation is going to go, but I know it's going to touch so many lives, because I know there's a lot of people that are actually here where they think they are here in their lives, right? And they see, and I remember I put out a poster. So many people will see some of those your names and see what you guys are doing, and they'll be like, oh, when will I get to this level, right? So these are the people that are at this level now. So let's just allow them, listen to them, talk about their process, and I hope lives will be changed. So the first question is, when, say passively now, when did you passively pray about something and it happened? Both professionally and personally. And anybody can, it's chit chat, right? We could just jump in. So
what do you mean by passively pray? Is
like
there
you were just walking
casual, like, oh yeah.
You just passively pray about something, and maybe it was something bothering you, I don't know, but you just said a word about it and you just moved and it came to pass. Both professionally and because these guys, they see that you guys are doing well professionally. So even while you are talking about your personal life, keep bring your professional life to it, so that we know how it goes.
Well, I have a very recent example, I guess, where I actually didn't say prayer. There was something bothering me, something on my mind, and my mood. I've mentioned this to her. There was something on my mind about work and the work that I was doing and the work that I was going to start doing, and I didn't even pray about it. I didn't even mention it to my husband, but it concerned me going back to work. I mean, so I had been out of work for a while, and I was getting ready to go back into work. And one of the things on my list, so I said to God, God, these are the things. I made a list on the 5th of May, 2020, and I wrote the time and the date, and I did all that. And I made a list, and I said, God, these are the things that I need. And everything else was kind of ticked off on that list. But there was something that bothered me that I didn't even pray about. Well, I guess I did, which was what I was asking about passive prayer. I guess it was bothering me, and I guess, it was on my mind, but I didn't even mention it to my husband. I didn't talk about it to anybody else, which was about going back to work and care for my kids, because I have fairly young kids, not too young, but, fairly young. My youngest is going to be 4 this year. So it bothered me that how I was going to make that transition, having been home, for a while with them now, sort of then going back to work. And I was concerned about it, but I didn't talk to anybody about it. And when I was going to start work, one of the things that was part of the job is that we're going to be working from home till the end of the year. That is just amazing, because I didn't even say that prayer. Like, God had ticked off everything that was on the actual list, and then he went over and above. So I didn't even say prayer. It just was on my mind, and it was heavy on my mind, and I didn't say anything about it, but he did it. So that was, fairly recent. So yeah, I mean, that's the God we serve now. He kind of listens to our hearts even when we don't speak, So yeah, I guess that's a recent example from me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned 5th of May. That's my birthday. So when anybody says anything 5th of May, I'm like, yay, my birthday. Anyway, so I think for me, right, I guess I'm one of those few people that do 99.9% passive praying. So I grew up in a church where praying was heavy, like a fighting God. If I mention the church, a lot of people would resonate with that. I grew up in that church, and I attended that church into my, I think, mid-20s or so. And so at a point in my life, I'm like, you know what? Do I really need to pray this hard, to God for him to hear me? I've done this for 20-something years of my life. And now I do a lot of passive praying, consciously, subconsciously. Sometimes I'm just driving, and then I remember that there's something I need, or, a burden suddenly comes on my heart. And right there behind the wheels, I just say, God, this has come up again, or how are we doing this thing? And I just forget about it, and then weeks after, months after, it just comes through. So I think for me, I do a lot of passive praying. I can't begin to mention a lot of things. There's one is done recently, but I will still, I would keep that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should share it now, so that I don't take the shine of, the 2U experience, which is why we're here. But I honestly would say that my prayer life, 99.9% of it is passive prayer. And it's me just saying, God, Alpha, this thing has come, let's get it done. And it just happens. Sometimes I come from a Thanksgiving angle, and I just thank him to say, God, thank you for this already. You've done so much in the past, and I know that this one again is a walk in the park for you. And I just forget about it. And I've done that for the last couple of years of my life. So I think even now, I only do active praying when I'm in a congregation and it's like a corporate prayer. But when it's my own personal prayer, like I'm praying all by myself, it's more of passive praying, and it's worked for me.
Anyway, for me, can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know whether to call it passive. I think with my Catholic background, prayer in the sense that we understand prayer is not how I was brought up in the faith. And discovering my faith in the Catholic Church, it's, for me, I've always, because I think in my younger years, I wanted to go into the nunnery. And my parents did not think it was the right path for me. Although they encouraged me, I spent time in the nunnery with the nuns. I spent time with the priests, and deacons, So I grew up a lot trying to know, they wanted to help me find out, is this your calling? Is this your calling? But for me, prayer is a conversation. And I think I'm always I like now, as I get older, I noticed it in the last 10, 15 years, that I wake up with a prayer on my mind, which when it first happened, I was like, okay, you just wake up singing one praise song. And I'm thinking, okay, you're coming awake, but you're still sleeping, but your spirit is, for those who know me, I'm always talking about my spirit. I'll say the spirit told me this, and Olayinka is shaking her head because the spirit, I was led by the spirit. And it was something that I was brought up with. My maternal grandmother, always said, the Spirit of God lives in you. So I always had these conversations with this, the Spirit of God that is in me. Whatever it is, whether it's work, whether it's personal, whether it's growth, in every area of my life. And it keeps happening. I find that as I get older, or as I mature, which is the word I like to use, as I mature in life and in the spirit, it's getting better. And sometimes it makes me laugh. And the experiences that Olayinka has had and Toyin has mentioned, has also happened to me. But I think it's a journey of faith. We're all on this journey of faith whereby we're discovering, and I don't think we are fully aware of, the limits or the extent of the God we serve, and he keeps on surprising us. He has a sense of humor, and he keeps on surprising us. And sometimes, I like to take him on the journey of my life. I said, where I am now is not where I was. And you have brought me through. So I keep on, especially when something is difficult. Maybe I want something and it's not happening. And I'm thinking, this is beans for you, Baba, this is beans. I mean, you have done A, B, C, D. You have walked me through the valley. You have taken me through stuff. So this is nothing. But at the same time, it also makes you wonder, is what I want, what I'm praying for, is it what God wants for me? And I think that is the growth area that I keep on working on, to say, your will be done. And if I may use Olayinka's example, I had the same thing. I was going through a process, and in my spirit, I said, it would be nice to have, this. I think I'm at the stage in my life where I could have that. And to my amazement, I got a letter telling me that I had it, so I jumped out, and it took me back to what my father used to tell me, that even the murmurs of your heart, the Lord hears. So you might think it's passive prayer. It's not. Everything about, remember, this is the person that knew you before you were born. You knew you before you entered your mother's womb. So for goodness sake, yes, it's not every thought that you have that he brings to pass, but he brings that which he has destined for you to pass. And it's still an amazement for me. It's still, as matured as I am, I'm still, still being entertained. It's just a wonderful journey. And, when I share it with other sisters and brothers who are in the spirit, who are on this journey of faith, I find that what is happening to me, it's not unusual. It is just part of getting closer to God. I think that's what your song also said, to you. It begins with him, it ends with him. The journey is him. That's where we are going to. We are all trying to be more like Christ. We are more trying to be, whether in how we walk, how we live, and I think it puts people in our paths for that. So life-wise, whether it's career, whether it's personal, the journey continues. And I think between the four of us here, we can, if we just go on experiences, we won't talk about anything. I can give you scenarios on scenarios of, grace of God in our life, his faithfulness and love. And for that, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's good. He just actually moved us into the next level, talking about scenarios. So I know Toyin was about to say something, and Yinka was about to also say something. Probably it's like a testimony. I don't know. So those scenarios, can we paint some of those scenarios in terms of where we actually did a passive prayer and it came to pass?
I think I gave my example already with the prayer of my heart about my home situation and going back to work. And it turns out that I don't even have to think about it for some time. So that for me really blew my mind, because there's a sense in which you can say that, well, you had a chat with God and you guys you felt led to write these things, and I wrote those things down, and those things were met. And anybody else, like if you think about it, anybody else would be able to say, well, we had an agreement, you asked for this, I gave it to you. But he went beyond. That is the kind of father that we have. He kind of just, like Mojisola said, he heard the murmurs of the heart and just said, you know what, I know this thing is on your mind. And he just added to it and added to it and added to it. And that just really blows my mind, because who else does that? Do you get what I mean? Who cares enough to look at the details? Because, he could have waited for me to cry unto him and say, Lord, help me, and crying and rent and do all those things, but he didn't,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a recent example, and it falls right in there, because I don't know how much more passive you can get, like not even talking about something that is like the height of passiveness. So yeah, I didn't even talk about it. I didn't tell anybody about it, but he knew and he answered.
Does it always go as planned?
No.
No.
N-O.
Nah. Capital letter.
In fact, what, I'll do you one better, Obina.
Yeah.
Actually, just recently, I was listening to a message about someone that was saying just that you should not ever judge God's will and plan for your life by how it's going. Because most times, the minute you submit to God's will, everything turns up on its head in the physical. So that is never the way to judge whether or not you're in God's will, by how things are going, if you get what I mean, whether or not it's going to plan. So if it's going smoothly, that means, you're doing the right thing, or if it's going, no. In fact, you're most likely to be in God's will if you're going, if things aren't going as smoothly as they should go, because, we have an enemy. So yeah, it doesn't always go smoothly at all.
So let's say, even though you desire something, right, and you pray for it, there are cases where some of the things that you desire does not come the way you want them to come, or it doesn't come at all. Has there been cases like that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Of course.
Of course, it's part of life.
Lots of cases like that. There are more of those. And
It's
I still, as being a child in the spirit and being a child on this journey of faith, I still, we are still discovering how God wants things to work out. We are still trying to know what is his will for you in every situation. And so I could give you very difficult. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with three friends that grew up with me. And what was common amongst three of us, 1, 2, 3, three of us, is the fact that the month of April 2021 has been a difficult month. And we all identified, 4 of us actually.
We've lost your sound, Mojisola. We've lost your sound. So we can't hear you.
Okay.
I think she's trying to
Log in with the other one.
log back here, log back up. We can't hear you.
I think you need me there now.
Exactly. That's a nice one.
So yeah, I don't know if you maybe can
I can
add
like
something.
go on before she sorts that out,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so I think it's just part of life. You get some, you don't get
I can't hear
some.
you.
You can hear me?
No, no, sorry. I think she was asking. Mojisola
Oh,
was
okay.
okay.
Is she back now? Okay, I think the other connection is back now. Yeah, I think she can go on.
Yes.
I'll just wait.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
Okay. No, go ahead. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I mean, no, you have started. I just wanted to fill in the gap pending when you sorted it out. So I think you should continue. I haven't said much, so I can pause.
Okay. Anyway, so one thing that came out of our discussion yesterday, the forum, was that it's not that God is not with us. He's with us. And we have gone to him with our prayers, with our petitions, with our requests. And as far as we are concerned, he's not hearing us or he's not answering us. And one of the things that came out of our discussion yesterday was this: with God, his time is best. So when you go to him, leave it there. But as children of God, we are children. So, mommy, I want this. Mommy, mom, you go over and over again. And I think we realize we are adults. We were actually doing that. And we ended up laughing because by the time we four of us talked amongst ourselves, we said, okay, it's like you wake up every morning, it's like, Baba, what's going on? I've asked you for this thing. Today is 21, today is 22nd, today is 23rd. So we all said, something, leave it there, take it and leave it at his altar. I always say, leave it at the feet of God, I'm at your feet, leave it there. And let us see how it goes. Remember, whatever God decides, say your will be done. And I think that's what we are taking out of that. As at yesterday night and this morning, we said, we need to learn to accept the will of God. We might think that this thing is so important, we want it now. But you know what? The month of April could end, and what we were hoping for this month of April will not happen. No, that doesn't mean it's not coming. We are missing what we are supposed to get for the month of April because we are so focused on what we think we should be getting. And, so we all said to ourselves, okay, our individual, let us leave it at God's altar, and let us just say, thy will be done. He has heard us. He has brought us this far. But all of us woke up this morning, and that's the funny thing. All of us woke up and sent a text that, we should thank God for that. So it doesn't always work out. It's about letting your mind, like Toyin has said, sometimes you just say it and you forget about it. But when we want something so much, we don't forget about it. We hold on to it and we are willing him to do it. And he's saying, child, in my own time, everything will be beautiful. So that's the lesson we are taking. And today is the 25th and we are still saying, okay, you know what? 5 days to go, 6 days to go, let us just leave it alone. Leave it alone. And each one of us are going to try that lesson. It's amazing that we are all matured women, but we are learning that.
Right. So I think for me, right, I had an aha moment a while back. There was something I really wanted, and this time around, it wasn't one of those passive prayer things. So it was one of those 0.01% of when I go very aggressive, like, God, you have to do this. And I think so it was like I was doing almost like every day. So I'm praying and like, God, this thing has to happen. It just has to happen. And I have this flashback to like way back in my life. And I started to recall some of the things I've done, some of the things I've gotten, some of the things I've achieved. And it actually occurred to me that true, all of those things came to me easy. I didn't have to sweat for it. And the Spirit said to me, you know what? All of these things you've gotten over time in your life, did I not do it? Why are you fretting? Like, just take it easy. And I think from that day, whenever I'm almost getting into that mode of, oh, why is this not happening? I remember that scenario, that scene just flashes back again to say, you know what? Leave it to God. He knows you. He knows what you want. He knows what you deserve. And it would happen when it would happen. You just focus on what you need to do as a human being on earth. Focus on the assignment that God has given you to do on earth, and all of these things would fall in place at God's time. Is it always easy to do it? No. Are there instances where I'm still fighting myself to say, I know now I can't just fold my hands, and then you're looking for Bible scriptures in the Bible to back it up, how you need to open your mouth and ask, because it's the person that asks that receive. If you don't ask, you will not receive. Or the violence, take the kingdom of God is bad. I start to bring all of that, and then the Spirit keeps saying to me, I haven't asked you to do this. And so over time, just like what Moji said, I'm learning, because it's a process. I'm learning to just surrender all to God and trust that if He hasn't done it, then it means that I don't need it yet. Or it means that I don't need it at all. And one that keeps coming back to me was my very first real job back in 2006. So I've done a few jobs here and there after NYSC. But when my first real job came in 2006, I applied on the day the adverts would close. Because, something just said, don't bother yourself. So in the first place, I have HND. And so something just said, don't bother yourself. People with BSc will get this job. Don't stress yourself. So I didn't apply. And then on the last day it was going to close, something just said to me, so if you apply, it's not as if you are paying money for this application. I used to send an email. It would cost you nothing. Just apply. And so I sent in my application, and the process started. First test, second test. A lot of orders I had to jump to even be able to go for the test, because I was working somewhere. And so even being able to take permission from my boss to say, oh, I need to quickly go for a test. And the first shocker was the first test, I was hesitant. So I was already thinking of cooking up, some story as to why I would come late to work. But on the other side, somebody was like, but this your boss has been nice to you. Why can't you open up to say what you want to go do? So the evening before the test, I walked up to him. I was working in a bank at the time. So as we were shutting down for the day, I just walked up to him to say, sir, I will come in late tomorrow. I have a test for a job. And then he joked and said, you want to leave us here, Abby? Okay, anyway, go do your test. And it turned out that for every stage of the process, it became very easy. I would just go to him to say, oh, you remember that thing I told you about the other time? They called me for the next process, so I will come in late tomorrow. And he would just say, no problem, go for it. At the end of the day, I got that job. There were 15 of us that got the job. And from what we were told, the company received, I can't forget that number, like it's still in my head so many years after. The company received 96,000 applications. I didn't know anybody in the organization. Nobody facilitated anything for me. So out of 96,000 applications, 15 of us got the job. I'm one of the 15. And then of the 15 of us that got the job, 14 others have BSc. I had HND. And so every time I start to fret, God just reminds me of that to say, I did this for you in 2006. So what can I not do for you now? And I can go on a lot of things like that where I didn't think I deserved it, but maybe I just wanted it. And I'm like, God, it would be good for me to, also have this thing, but, anyhow. And so over time, I've always just reminded myself of all of those experiences to say, well, if God didn't do this one, then it just means that it wasn't meant to be, because the ones that were meant to be, it did them after all. And so I use that to pacify myself, because sometimes you're almost getting into that mode where you're beginning to compare yourself with other people. And then I just remember that's, job experience in particular always comes back to me. And to top it up, a couple of years after, maybe my second year into the job or so, a friend from secondary school had gone for pre-employment, those youth pre-employment sessions that you go to prepare you for the workplace and all of that. And she had gone for one of those sessions in an establishment, and that establishment happened to be the same agency that my employer had used for recruitment at the time. And so this, my friend from secondary school, we hadn't even seen each other in so many years, went for that session. And at that session, the MD of that establishment, in her, speaking to the youth and, fresh graduates, telling them about how to prepare for interviews and all of that, referred to something that happened during my interview. So we had a presentation exercise to do. So right there at the assessment center, they gave us, like folded papers. You just pick any paper, whatever you pick is the topic. You have like 15 minutes to prepare for it. And so I didn't understand the topic I got. I interpreted it in a different way. So I prepared based on my interpretation of that topic. I got into the presentation room and did my presentation based on my understanding of the topic. And then the panelists, I remember them very well, a man and a woman, said to me, "What does this thing mean? Do you know what it means?" And I said, "Well, this is the first time I'm hearing it, but this is my understanding of what it meant." And they said, "No, that's not what it means. This is what it means. So now that you know what it means, can you present to us on the spot?" Remember that I initially had 15 minutes to prepare. Now I didn't have time. I had to present on the spot. And I said all I could say. Anyway, I got the job, right? And so at that session, the MD of that establishment, in her now, talking to these graduates on how to prepare for interviews, how to show up at interviews, what to do during an interview, then mentioned my scenario and said, she had worked with a company as a client and one of the candidates had this issue, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she mentioned my name. My maiden surname is a unique name. So it's not a common name. So if you hear that name and you know me, you just know it's me, especially when it comes with Toyin, you just know it's me. So my friend calls me up out of the blues and says, "Oh, I was at this session and this woman used you as an example. She mentioned your name." And right there, I'm like, "I know this person. We went to secondary school together." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." I didn't even know that backstory, because they didn't tell me after I got the job. It wasn't part of the feedback I got. But just see how God also then used that to bless, other people elsewhere. So why am I bringing this up? God will do what he wants to do. And she went on to say that that single thing I did was one of the considerations they used in making a final decision. That because for the panelists, it was a big deal that I could on the spot recover and do what I needed to do. I'm like, okay, this had to be God, because I didn't know, how all of that happened. And so the point I'm making is sometimes you want something really bad, it doesn't come through. But if you've learned to trust God, that He's done it in other situations. So him not doing that particular one does not mean that he suddenly lost all his powers because he can't use his powers. It only just means that the time is not right, or that maybe just indeed we do not need that thing we're looking for or that we're asking for. And it takes, like Moji said, it's a process. It takes a lot of maturing and keep growing to get to that point where you can accept a no from God.
That's a huge one. So, but preparation is actually part of the process, yeah? Yeah, preparation is actually part of the process, because
it is.
Yeah, because some might, I didn't tell you guys, but I actually did a lot of buzz about you guys in so many ways, right? Yeah, I did a lot of so many things, yeah. So that was
I
why
don't understand. Please explain that to me.
I did a lot of buzz, like I made a lot of noise about you guys, right? I put you guys out there with, and it was intentional why I put your I don't know what to call it now.
Profile.
Your profile there, right? Because I wanted them to listen.
Thank you, HR.
I want HR, that's serious.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
So I wanted them to see your profile and say, because most of us, when we see that kind of profile and we see people on platforms like this, I, for one, will say, ah, man, these guys have made it too. It's a fact. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Yeah. But that was one of the reasons why I put your profile out there, so that when you're talking about your stories, people can actually relate to how these things are. It's nothing different from what the normal person would go through, right? It's not that certain people are chosen to have a perfect life, right? And so even though three of you
You know what? Let me speak about something.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Speak about something. Okay. I think I've told a couple of people this story before. I started my university education by doing social work because I wanted to save the world before I read law. But in reading law, I was distracted. It wasn't my first choice. I wanted to do international relations, and my dad wanted me to read law. He felt, out of all my children, you will be a lawyer. And so it was a fight to get me into law school. So anyway, I started, in IFE, international relations. 3 months later, I respected myself and my father and went back to study law. Anyway, I ended up finishing law with the 3rd class, okay? So, and when I finished with the 3rd class, I said I wasn't going for graduation. And this is something my parents have been looking forward to. Remember, they wanted a lawyer. So the stubborn me said, I'm not going for graduation. I have the degree, so you guys should be happy with that. Anyway, come to law school. I didn't pass some of the courses. And in law school, your result comes out in daily times, right? They put it in daily times. So you can imagine the whole of Nigeria has it. They know your daughter is in law school. Your name is not there because you have, particular courses to repeat. Anyway, after all of that said and done, I always say now, any day I see my father again, when I meet him again, I'll tell him you were right. Because he knew today, a lot of what I do is back to because I studied law. But what the story is about is this. When I finished, I had friends who had 1st class, 2nd class, They were coming out in law school with 1st class and 2nd class, And then here I was finishing. And then I was working in a small oil and gas company. But the owners of the firm felt I was a very brilliant girl. And brilliance wasn't something they used for me. They used to call me intelligent. So I used to say to them that, yes, I'm intelligent, but I'm not brilliant. But these partners always said I was brilliant. That was when Hilton was coming to Nigeria, okay? And part of what the other side of the corporate arm of this firm did was to help Hilton set up, registration, incorporation of companies, all of that whole sector. I wasn't part of it because I was in the oil and gas side because I was, the top student in oil and gas in my university. But my sister came to get married in Nigeria in 91, in December, and from England. So I prepared the whole arrangement, went to set up their honeymoon at the Hilton. I went to Abuja, booked it and everything. In that process, I had done a course called speed writing, Executive Secretaries and Managers program at a school called Speed Writing on Okwebi. And the lady there also said, I'm very brilliant. So, brilliant was something I was hearing later in life. And I was thinking, what are they talking about? I'm a very intelligent person. Anyway, this woman had some programs there for oil companies, for government establishments, to train them on executive secretaries and managers and ethics and behavior. So I went there with her for that. She was like, oh, you're a lawyer, so come with me. I went with her, but I wanted to go and book my sister's honeymoon. I ran into the GM, Mr. Rocheville of Hilton. He was the first GM of Hilton. And he thought there was nothing before ice cream but me. And I don't know what I said. I don't know how the conversation went. However, he said, I want you to work with the company secretary. And I said, you can't afford me. Look at me. First of all, remember, third class, failed law school. I just want people to know that your part is your part. Forget all of that. And I said, I'm going to draft my own contract. If you're going to take me on, I'll try it out for 6 months and see how it goes. If I like it, I don't want to live in Abuja. I have a place in Lagos. My dear, my mouth ran all over the place. I drafted a contract that I thought, these people will say no. I drafted the contract on the 19th of December. He accepted it on the 23rd and said I should start immediately. My sister's and her husband's honeymoon is on the hotel. I said, well, I don't have a place to live in Abuja. I'm not sure Abuja this is 91, remember? He said, you will live in the hotel. The bottom line is, I am still the only local staff that was employed by the Hilton in Nigeria that lived in the hotel with all the other expatriates for the length of my contract. Because after that, I left the country. Because after that, I said to myself, you are brilliant. I started accepting, it's for you to stand in that place and accept who you are. Mm-hmm. Yes, you had third class. Forget that one. Okay, that is just a piece of paper. You had to prove yourself. But I accepted the job. They were paying me more than they were paying any other person. So today, all my classmates saying, is it not Akpata? Because they all call me Akpata. It's not Akpata that she did third class. The one that her name they appear in Daily Times, that got the job at the Hilton, with the company secretary, with, but the journey there, I never would have thought, and my mind was not there. But, and my father used to, he told me a lot of things about, you're a child of God, you're mobile, you are stubborn, all these things will work out. But I'm just saying that none of us are parts. It's as the Lord desires that it happens. It's for us to know that this is where we should be working because this is where God wants us to be. I did not realize it. But what came out of that Hilton was, one, I learned that I was brilliant, that anything I applied myself to do, I could do it, that I was hardworking. And believe me, you'll be, as my father would say, posterity will forgive you for making effort. Okay? Number 3, just know that if you put God before everything else, it will happen. Because when the manager was talking to me, I was like, if the Lord wants, I'm only here for this. Once I finish with Mrs. Komolafe, I'll do my sister's stuff, and I'm going back to Lagos. I'm with this oil company. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew in my spirit that I was being led. So after that job, I left. So let us all know that, nothing, when you see people, it's their journey. But none of us here, our journeys are the same. None of us. Our journeys are all different, and the exemplary things that God wants to do in our life, we have to stand and, what's the word I'm looking for? We have to stand and acknowledge the fact that we are here. I am here to do your will. It's a song I like. I'm here to do your will. There I am to do your will. So stand and wait for it. So it doesn't matter what titles we have today. I never forget where I'm coming from. I never forget the fact that I'm not all of that. Yes, I went on to read the second degree. I did my law degree all over again in Canada. And but so that was just to say, I know I did not apply myself fully when I did my first law degree. So I had to go back and then I realized really law is the foundation I needed to travel the world, to be in international relations, to do corporate affairs, to do external affairs, to engage governments. It is the foundation I need because how I think, how I process information, how I put together solutions, all comes from that, but see the fight I had. It was a fight for me to actually go and read law with my father. I just wanted to share that on this platform for people to know the road is not always as smooth or easy as you think, but with God on your side, believe me, all to fall into place. We are still learning. Thank you.
Olayinka, do you want to say something? You just.
I'm still learning. These stories are very useful for me. I guess. To be honest, I think, like Mojisola said, everybody's path is different. But I have, I guess, come at this approach is just a little bit different. I'm in absolute alignment with what Toyin and Mojisola said. But I think because of the things that I've gone through myself and the challenges that I've faced, I've come at it really putting, God and Jesus at the center of everything that I'm doing, because I think there's a sense in which, yes, there's God's timing, and, there's parts of, or seasons, I guess, when you have to wait and, prepare. There's something my husband says that is very profound. He says, preparation time is never wasted time. Sometimes it is about the process, for you to get to where you're going. But there's also a sense in which we need to be very clear as Christians, as children of God, that we do have an enemy. And whether you believe it or not, it's true. And whether you're aware of it or not, it's true. So you can imagine if you're in a war and you're coming at an enemy who has machine guns and AK-47 with roses and, bamboo tree, you're not equipped. Do you get what I mean? So I think we need to be aware so that we can be properly equipped to fight that fight. Jesus has won the victory for us. That's clear. But there's a part that we have to do in terms of taking that victory and owning it for ourselves. And so when things don't go right, yes, it could be that God is preparing you for something and you ought to wait for something, but it also could be that the devil is on the prowl. And as Christians, we should be able to discern things in the spirit to know what the difference is, so that you can appropriately, equip yourself. So that if you're waiting and you're going through a process, you can pay attention to the journey and say, okay, this is what I'm learning, because I'm learning this because I'm going to need it at some point. So pay attention to the process. Or if it's the devil that's on the prowl, you can say, hang on, Mr. Devil, this far and no more, and take your authority in Christ. So there are, I guess, you kind of just need to be sure which one it is. I'll give you an example. In Daniel, I think it's Daniel 1 and Daniel 9. So there's one part in Daniel where he said a prayer and he got an answer immediately. And the angel came and said, the minute you opened your mouth to pray, the Lord sent me to you, and this is your answer. And then in Daniel 9, he prays and he doesn't get an answer for 3 weeks. But the angel also said, the minute you prayed, God sent me. And then I had, you know what I mean? And then I had to face the Prince of Persia, and we were fighting a battle, and I needed Gabriel. The difference though now is that Daniel in the Old Testament didn't have the authority of Christ, but we do. So the 3 weeks that Daniel waited while the angels were fighting on his behalf, he could have been involved and said, Omo, let me get, do you get what I mean? So honestly, I can't tell you how much of a difference that has made for me, because even Jesus said that while we're on the earth, I mean, in the high priest prayer, I think in John 17, he said, while we're on the earth, he said, listen, he was praying to God. He said, I'm praying for the ones that you have given me, not that you will take them out of the earth, but that you protect them while we're here. So these things happen. Like, it's a war zone. Nobody is going to not be attacked. If Jesus was attacked by the devil and his cohorts, then we are going to have challenges. But you just need to know which side of the divide you're on. If it is a learning kind of challenge, absolutely throw yourself in and say, Father, teach me, help me to learn, help me to pay attention, help me to do what I need to do, so that when I come out of this season, I'll be able to apply those lessons in my next season, because that's why you're going through it. However, if it's just an attack of the devil, then you need to say, Father, let me know what I need to do, so that when then you can take your authority. So there's just those two sides of it. But certainly the simple answer is that things will not go as planned. In fact, just as we were talking, I remember that scripture where they said of Paul that, those people who have turned the world upside down have also come here to trouble us. Because the way of the Spirit is almost completely opposite to the way of the world. So when you're walking with God, you're almost going to be at loggerheads with the very, with worldly things. So it's not going to be smooth. No, let me not lie to you, because if anybody's listening who you haven't given your life to Christ and you're thinking about it, and you think maybe when you give your life to Christ, everything will now be smooth. No, it will not be smooth. But what I can assure you is that it's like when you have expo, you already know the end is fine. So, it's like when you're watching an action movie and the, lead character is going through all these troubles and he's almost getting killed and all of that. If you don't know that the lead character never dies at the end, you're going to be at the edge of the seat like, oh, you're like, look, he's behind you, doing all those things. But if you know that the man is not going to die, you will sit down and eat popcorn and drink your drink because you know that, So it's just good to know. That's the difference. If you haven't given your life to Christ and you're thinking about it, please do it. You will not regret it. But it doesn't mean that everything will go smoothly, but it means that you have the victory and you will enjoy victory, the kind of victory you will not enjoy if you don't give your life to Christ. So let me stop it there for now.
That's man. I think we just close now. I think
I'd be right.
Yeah, said
believe me, that message is for me too. That you just answered that, that message is for me. It meets a need of mine right now. It meets a need of mine right now. So thank you, Olayinka.
Thank God, you guys. I'm learning from you. This is just before I even spoke, I was just listening to you guys, picking all the but everything just works out for good, God is talking to everybody as we're doing all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And there was something, I just want to add something to this. So there was something Obina talked about, putting out our profile and all of that. And the reality is the fact that you see somebody and you say, oh, this person is way ahead of me, does not mean that their life is all rosy. Social media is now really not even helping us. So we all come and talk about only the good things we've achieved. So I mean, even if I use myself as an example, so if I use maybe my movie business, for instance, as an example, so I come and post, the nominations we got, the award nominations we got, the film festivals that selected us, but I don't come to say the ones that reject us, And so if you are now just going around and saying, oh, this person is a filmmaker and she's getting all these accolades, she's getting all these awards, and I'm also a filmmaker here, nothing is happening. My dear, I can tell you for a fact that for that one I come to share, there are probably 5 or 6 or 7 rejections that we get. So the fact that you see somebody's profile and you're like, oh my God, this person has done this, he has done that, she has achieved this, she's married, she has these children, she has all of that. There are 1,001 battles that we don't bring, out there. We only just celebrate the good side to encourage ourselves and encourage other people. So I'm just tying this to what Olayinka said. As a Christian, the Bible says it, there will be tribulations, but be of good cheer. He has overcome the world. So the tribulations will still be there, but as Christians, we now don't focus on those tribulations. We don't let the tribulations weigh us down because we know that victory is assured. So, just adding to that, don't get discouraged when you see other people celebrating their successes and you feel like nothing is happening in your life. You woke up yourself this morning, you got up from your bed yourself this morning, you drank water and you could swallow it. You didn't need to have needles pass through your body to get fluid. You were able to get waste out of your body yourself. So when you are in those down moments, and that's what I do, I try to look for what's working and I hold on to that to say, well, this is working. So my life is not I'm not totally in the dark. There are good things happening in my life. And that's all I'm saying. So in those periods, either we're waiting for God to do what he wants to do, or we are battling the devil and we're trying to, cast and bind the devil. Let's also always remember the good things in our lives, the good things that we have, and hold on to that. There's a line in a Nathaniel Bassey's song that says, I'm trying to remember the exact words now, but it's something about, God has never failed before and he cannot start to fail now. So if he hasn't failed, exactly, he has a track record of proving himself. So it's not about, he can't fail now. And so, for me is once we always just hold on to his faithfulness and just try to remember the things he's done for us. I mean, no matter how bad our situation is today, if you think deeply, you will remember at least one thing that is done for you in the past, and that you can hold on to that to say, God, I remember you have done this before. So I know that you can do this again. So I know that this devil in my path, you've conquered this devil, and I will overcome this situation. And so please, I really, there's just a notch in me to really emphasize this. Do not get carried away about the supposed success that you see. Because for every of those successes that you see, there are tons of battles. I've known Moji for years, for instance. I'm hearing this story today for the first time about her first attempt at being a lawyer, you know. So we all have those stories. And until you maybe interact with people at levels like this and you get to know what the behind the story is, then you really appreciate that your life is not any different. And so, you know, you also have good things to be successful and to be grateful for. And that thing that you have is somebody else's prayer point as well. Yeah, I'll stop now.
Thank you guys so much. So basically, it has to do with the mind and perspective about life. All right. So people should have the right perspective about everything. If they see a successful person, some people want to become an engineer. If you see a successful engineer putting out there the good stories, you should just have that mindset of you that, oh, he's doing well. That means I will do well too. All right. You probably want to get close to him and ask him how he did this, how he did that. You would hear about his failings and you would hear about his successes. So the best thing is for you to focus on how to build your life around some of the information you get from those people that you're looking up to. I think that's what I take from this. So it's all about perspective, putting your mind in the right place. So thank you guys so much. I've taken too much of your time because I know you guys are busy people. Because I was looking at your eyes, it's always going this way. So, so thank you guys. So I really do appreciate it. I owe you a lot. I mean, I've said this before, but I'm saying it again now. I owe you guys, all three of you, a lot. Right from the beginners level.
No, you don't.
Okay, thank you, Yinka, for saying that. So right from the beginners level.
Tell him, please, tell him. It's all about gratitude. We are grateful, we are thankful, so let us keep that gratitude going.
Yeah. So I owe you guys a lot. Thank you so much for coming on to the TU experience. Yeah. So guys, this is it. I hope you find time to listen to it again. It will be on the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram, hopefully. Probably LinkedIn too, because I'm trying to make sure that you guys see these faces as much as you can. So guys, thank you so much. All right.